gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, will you please take your seats? The conference will now begin.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see that white fellas don't run on time either. I'm here, my name's Brendan Kerin. I'm the cultural representative and cultural educator for Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, and our role as Aboriginal Land Council under the Land Rights Act, we are the cultural authority and the guardians and custodians of land within our boundaries. I'm here this morning to welcome you to country, and before I do, I share history of country as well, because it's a package deal. Just around the corner for us fellas, Botanical Gardens, that's ground zero. That's where that funny white fella landed with the wig and red jacket, Cook, and in less than 50 years of that invasion, 80% of our people was wiped out within Sydney and the East Coast. And the Gadigal people bore the brunt of that impact. If we fast forward that timeline, we had the second wave, and the second wave brought the massacres and the slaughters on country. There was 500 of my family members, men, women and children, that were slaughtered just over water for their cattle to drink. If we fast forward that timeline, we then had the period of the kidnapped generation. And my mother was part of the kidnapped generation, taken at the age of 5, locked up in a jail for 2 weeks, sent to a training camp called Cootamundra Girls' Home. My uncles went to Kinchilla Boys' Home, and the babies of the family went to Bomaderry. And these were training camps for our people. They were trained and taught how to be servants and slaves, sent out to white families to work, never got paid a cent for the work they did, and they were punished for speaking their language and practicing their culture. In the 1950s and 1960s, my people came under the Flora and Fauna Act. The Flora and Fauna Act. We weren't even considered human, 1950s and 1960s. 1971, I was born at Crown Street Women's Hospital at Surrey Hills. And unfortunately, that's the last time that I ever felt my mother's touch. 7 years ago, I found my mother's grave, and I found I'm one of 10 siblings that have been removed. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the second generation of family that's been taken. And the history that I share is a very brief history of what we've been through, because when you have a welcome to country, take a bit of time to reflect and think about what we've actually been through to get to where we are today. Because 10 years ago in this country, we would never have had a welcome to country. We would never have had an acknowledgement of country. So for me, it shows as a nation we're moving forward in the way of recognition and acknowledgement of the First Nations and the world's oldest living culture. We could move a lot bloody faster, but at least we're moving forward, which is the main thing. The land that we're gathered on here this morning is Gadigal land. And Gadigal is one of 29 tribes which make up the Eora Nation. Has everyone heard that word Eora? The meaning of that word Eora means man. Eora Nation, men's country. The Conservatory of Music is actually built on top of sacred dancing ground for men. There's kangaroo and dingo dreaming. It's built on top. So it's men's country. The boundaries for the Eora Nation start from the ocean, and they're surrounded by 3 of Australia's most beautiful rivers, the Hawkesbury River, the Nepean River and the Georges River. And in between those 3 mighty and beautiful rivers, we've got 29 tribes which make up the Eora Nation. And the name of the tribe that we're gathered on here this morning, or this evening, or this afternoon, is Gadigal. So always first and foremost, on behalf of those Gadigal ancestors, because their spirit is still in the land and the waters, on behalf of Metropolitan Aboriginal Land Council as the cultural authority on that land, and on behalf of myself, I'd like to welcome everyone here this morning to Gadigal country. Always an honour for me to perform a welcome to country, to be able to perform that ceremony back on country. And I thank everyone for having me here, because you've become a part of that rejuvenation of our tradition and culture back on country. So thank you for having me. Welcome to Gadigal country. I just find it funny, most of you fellas are all sitting on the far right side, left side there, because that's the closest to the door, isn't it? So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for having me. Love to stay, but unfortunately, I have to go and pay a white bloke by the name of Wilson for parking on my own land. They didn't bring that up at the when they were having the voting, did they? They didn't talk about Wilson. And he's not bloody cheap either, Wilson. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gadigal country. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a lovely weekend. Thank you.